Okay. Talk.
Hello, this is a test. We read Shakespeare this year.
Any more? We need to check it.
Oh. Shakespeare this year. Welcome back. Today, we join you from the garden because it's spring.
It's spring.
You can probably hear the bumblebees behind us. But yeah, we decided to show you guys everything we had to read this year as creative writing and English majors in university. We thought maybe you'd be interested if you're going into university or you just started and you want to know what the reading lists look like. So we are about to finish third year.
Woo!
And it was a pretty heavy reading year.
Yeah.
Just for context, do you want to say what you're majoring in?
Yeah, I'm majoring in creative writing, and I think I'm minoring in English because
You can do it. I believe in
yeah,
you.
I need to just declare it.
And I am a double major in creative writing and English Lit. And yeah, let's get started. So first semester was a lot lighter for both of us. We were in the same Shakespeare class, so we took Shakespeare's earlier works, and we had 6 plays. So we'll tell you a little bit about them and our favorites and stuff of the semester.
This is a lot for one class.
I know.
Anyways, it's also worth mentioning that third year is where things kind of amp up.
It's a huge jump.
It's a huge jump from second to third.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put that out there. Part of it is because of the required reading lists. Okay, so the first play that we read in first semester was Henry the Sixth.
Part 3.
Henry the Sixth, Part 3.
Yeah, I remember, that was the first one we had to read.
Yeah.
That's the first Shakespeare I've had to read for university at all. I read some in high school. So I was pretty nervous.
Yeah.
But overall, I remember really liking it. And I remember, because we really liked Margaret.
Yes, Margaret is a queen in more than one way.
But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one.
From what I remember, we were both reading it, and we were like, wow, we understand this.
A lot more than I thought.
Back in high school, I remember reading Shakespeare thinking, oh my god, what am I reading? What does this mean? But also, it was definitely one of the easier reads compared to the rest.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember being in class, and it was right after we had read the second play on the list, and our professor was like, okay, so who liked Henry VI better than Richard III? And Dessa and I were the only ones who put our hands up.
And it's because Margaret is a boss-ass bitch in this play, dude.
She makes the whole thing.
She really does. She's hilarious. So the second play we had to read was Richard III, which is a little bit of a continuation on Henry VI Part 3.
It's part of the same history series that he was kind of doing.
Yeah. So Richard, who was in the previous play, is the main kind of star of this one.
Yeah.
And it's about him kind of trying to take the throne. Mm-hmm. So this one's really fun because Richard is so cunning and so, I don't know, he's just crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of asides. He's the king of asides.
He really is.
He's just speaking to his people, and then he'll be like,
but this is what I'm actually planning.
This one was good, but it was so long. And I remember
really long. Yeah.
Isn't it his second longest play?
Is it really?
Or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person. I really like the cover. That just looks like Richard being mischievous.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know, look at the face.
the eyes.
Yeah. Okay. So, the third play was arguably the best.
Yeah, totally.
Titus Andronicus.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Titus Andronicus.
This one is heavy.
There's a lot that goes down in this, and I can't believe we had never heard of this play before this term.
I know.
Because
I'd never heard of a lot of these.
Yeah, that's true. But this one specifically, so much goes down, and
Yeah.
In the...
Is it stuck in my hair?
I don't know. Wait, don't move. Oh, he's stuck in your hair. Hold on. Get out, bro.
Does that?
He's gone.
Are you sure?
He's down there.
Oh no.
I heard him.
It's okay.
I feel bad.
He just needs to like
recuperate.
Yeah.
Sorry, Titus. Emergency bee removal.
Forever.
He's like twerking.
Yeah.
Oh!
He's coming for revenge.
Like Titus.
Like Titus. I knew that was gonna happen when I heard all the buzzing.
I know.
Titus. What do we want to say about Titus?
Is there anything that can be said about Titus?
Just read it. Like, it's a short play.
Trigger warnings, though.
Huge trigger warnings.
Look them up if you're thinking about reading it, but
Yeah.
I do really recommend it.
Yeah, it was really good.
I
And
enjoyed it a lot.
there were some funny lines.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, I don't know
The
if I can
scene
say
at the
it
end where they're, like,
because-
eating.
Okay, that wasn't funny. You think that was funny? The part where... Wait, maybe that's... There's no spoilers when it comes to Shakespeare. Wait, I actually want to find this line because it's so funny. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. I hope there's no spiders on me. Or ticks. Oh my god, could you imagine? I think I'd cry.
There's no ticks. Hold on, this is worth it. You gotta give me some time. Oh, here it is. Oh my god. Demetrius says...
Villain, what hast thou done?
And then Aaron says...
That which thou canst not undo.
And then Chiron says...
Thou hast undone our mother.
And Aaron goes...
Villain, I have done thy mother.
Gold!
Ew.
Shakespeare. I love that.
Okay, the fourth play we had to read was Romeo and Juliet. And I'm sure most people had to read this in high school.
Yeah.
And probably hated it. I know a lot of the other kids in our class really didn't like it. I'm here to defend Romeo and Juliet.
Do it.
I think it's like maybe one of the funniest plays.
It is. It's more of a comedy than a tragedy.
It really
until
is.
you get to the end.
When Benvolio says,
Be ruled by me. Forget to think of her.
Romeo says,
Oh, teach me how I should forget to think.
I just think that's so funny.
Me too, Romeo.
Considering his whole specialty is Shakespeare, it's surprising how much our prof like shits on the plays.
True.
It's really funny.
And then he goes, oh, but this play is so dear to me. And I'm like, are you sure?
Okay, then we got into the comedies.
This is the Comedy of Errors, which is another one I had never heard of.
Neither. For
It's
good
about-
reason.
Yeah.
It's not.
How do we even explain this? We can try.
There's two sets of twins, and they keep getting each other mixed up because they don't know that they're in the same city, basically.
Well, yeah, okay, so there's the two sets of twins, and then at
They have-
birth, they get split up.
Yeah.
So then it's like twin A, twin B. Wait.
No.
They're both with, like, the non-twin. and
Let's stop there. The last play we had to read for first semester of third year was The Merry Wives of Windsor, which again was comedy. I know you didn't like this one.
I didn't.
I actually really liked this one. I wrote about it for my term paper. It's basically these wives who are deceiving their husbands and other men in their communities. And yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
The comedy part of this play was wordplay. And when you already
Yeah.
barely understand, like, this one was hard to understand for me.
Titus Andronicus was the star of the first semester
Yes,
for sure.
Titus. I'll go quickly because I won't say much about this. I took a metaphor class. It was a third year creative writing course, and we read this text. It's called I Is Another, The Secret Life of Metaphor and How It Shapes the Way We See the World, by James Geary. Basically, we had to read this, like, a chapter before our class, and I did a okay job at the beginning of the semester, and then we never really touched on it in the course, so I probably read maybe 10 chapters and then just put it down.
Yeah.
But it's not that it wasn't good. It is more of a textbook, though, so it's
So
not
it's like about writing and metaphor. and
Yeah,
stuff? Okay.
exactly.
That actually sounds cool.
Yeah, you can read it if you want.
We'll see. I only read one other book in first semester. It was for a full year novel creative writing course, which is where you basically work on a novel for the whole year. So we had to read one book in first semester and then one in second semester. So we read Convenience Store Woman by
Good luck.
Sayaka Murata.
Good job.
Everyone in the class loved this, and I thought it was interesting, but I didn't like it that much. I don't know. That's all I really want to say about that, because I feel like everyone likes this book, and I mean, I get why. Like, the character's really quirky and stuff, but I don't know, just it wasn't really my thing. And then second semester, for that same class, I had to read A Pale View of the Hills. And I got exactly halfway through this, and then I didn't read anymore.
Ooh.
And it's yeah, I got exactly
to part 2.
Yeah.
And you were like, forget this.
We didn't have like an assignment on this or anything. It was just to talk about it. And I had so much other reading in second semester that, and also I just didn't really like the writing style, so I just decided he'll never know. So in second semester this year, we both took a 4th year Canadian Lit class, which is a requirement. But overall, I really enjoyed this class. The prof was great, and she picked some really great texts.
I wasn't originally in this class. I was in a class on Canadian film, and it was...
Sounds interesting.
It sounds very interesting. It was like a cult class / English, and, well, it didn't feel English at all to me. I think it was more of that cultural studies, like, genre of course. It wasn't English. We had to watch, like, 3 full-length movies a week, which I just didn't have time for. I was texting Dessa, I was like, I hate this class so much. She's like, oh, you should join my class.
You should come into my class. It's a lot of reading, but
so I had already finished the first novel when I joined. I was in lockdown at the time because Julian was sick. So Dessa went to the bookstore, and she bought the first novel for me.
I dropped it off at her house.
It was definitely the right decision to move into this class, for sure.
I really enjoyed this class. The first book we had to read was Obasan by Joy Kogawa, and I really liked this. I know that it might not have been your favorite of the semester, but it definitely was one of mine. Her writing is just beautiful.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about Canadian history that I didn't know in this class. So this book is about the internment of Japanese peoples during the Second World War in Canada. So it follows a girl named Naomi as she kind of recounts her childhood of having to grow up during that internment and being forced to move around a lot because of it, and her family, who some of them were interned. So yeah, it's pretty hard to read. It deals a lot with trauma and kind of the aftermath of war and everything, but I mean, yeah, just a really great book.
Yeah, this one is actually part of the Canadian literary canon. It's a classic that every Canadian should read, and every non-Canadian should read, because it's so important.
It's very important.
I mean, you talk about Japanese internment in America a lot, but you rarely ever hear about the Canadian internment.
No one really knows what happened in Canada throughout the 1900s.
It was not good.
No, not at all.
No. Yeah, and it wasn't that I didn't like this book. I really liked it, and I read it in 2 days.
Yeah.
Because I had to, but also because, like, it wasn't a struggle for me to pick it up and read through it. It was really good.
I enjoyed it.
We don't have a physical copy of this, but we read a play in this class.
Oh, so we did. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It's called the Komagata Maru Incident. Lots of controversy, lots of conversation in our class about if this was all cultural appropriation.
It was, again, about a tragedy that I had never heard of in Canadian history. We honestly didn't spend a lot of time on it in class just because it was written by a white playwright, and so the professor didn't feel that it really did kind of the tragedy justice, so we kind of skimmed over a little bit, but we did read it.
I'm just gonna say, though, to be fair, it was a white playwright, but she wrote from the perspective of white people.
Yeah.
And I actually really liked the play. Everyone hated it.
I thought it was interesting.
I thought it was really great that she had the protagonists as antagonists. Like, they were the snotty Canadian.
Like them.
No, because they had no idea what was really going on.
Yeah, and all they cared about was themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Anyways, we don't have that, but we do have Diamond Grill
by Fred Waugh.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just a collection of short snippets. So some of them are stories, some of them are recipes, some of them are kind of more poetry-esque about Fred Waugh's experience of growing up as a Chinese Canadian in BC, in Canada. Did he live in BC?
Yeah, Nelson.
Yeah, okay.
Or he lived just outside of Nelson.
So it mainly focuses on the restaurant called Diamond Grill that his father owned and ran. And it's kind of just about the racism that he faced as being a mixed-race person in Canada during that time. Wasn't my favorite of the semester for this class, but definitely worth the read. I mean, again, I learned a lot, so
yeah,
always worth it.
Same. Next we read In Search of April Raintree by Beatrice
Moissonnier.
Oh,
Is that
you have like a French accent in there.
I'm writing my
Moissonnier.
term paper on this, so I have been typing her name hundreds of times
I
in
love
the
that.
past couple days.
That was great.
So this was the point in the class when we started looking at Indigenous literature. So this was the first thing that we read for that.
I'm just gonna read like the first paragraph because I feel like it sums it up really well
Okay,
on the
go
back
for
here.
it.
In Search of April Raintree is the story of two Métis sisters growing up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Removed from their family at an early age, the sisters are raised in separate foster homes. The powerful and moving account of April and Cheryl Raintree is one of the best-known novels by an Indigenous author. So yeah, it kind of takes place during the 60s scoop in Canada, which I had never actually... It's so embarrassing reading these books and saying,
I
I
know.
had no idea this happened in the history of the country I identify with. Like, that's just insane
Yeah.
to me. So the 60s scoop, if you aren't familiar, it is how the Canadian government took Indigenous children out of their homes and threw them in the foster care system as a way of assimilation. Residential schools were still going on, but this was something that I'm pretty sure,
It was another excuse
yeah,
to push for assimilation.
exactly.
This book is really great. It's semi-autobiographical, so some of it is based off of like true events. If you are gonna pick this up, please look up trigger warnings. This is a really, really heavy book. A lot of awful stuff happens to these main characters.
Yep.
And so please like proceed with caution. It was such a great book. Like, I really enjoyed it.
This was a school read that I was reading before bed as if it were a read
A
that
normal
I
book.
picked off my own shelf. I loved this book.
Really
Trigger
hard to
warnings.
read, but really important.
Yeah. Next.
Okay, again, really hard to read.
Trigger warnings.
Trigger warnings, please look up any trigger warnings before you start reading this book. But we read Five Little Indians by Michelle Good.
Yeah, this one won a lot of awards, as you can see.
Yeah.
It was incredible. I think for both of us, it was a 5-star read.
Yeah.
It follows 5 protagonists, Maisie, Kenny, Lucy, Clara, and Howie.
Howie. Aw.
And we hear their stories after they get out of a residential school. And most of this book takes place in Vancouver.
And it's really just an exploration of kind of everything that was going on with Indigenous peoples in Canada and how Canada was really treating them during kind of the end of the 1900s and beginning of the 2000s. Residential schools were an awful situation, very traumatic. A lot of awful things happened to the kids while there. But then once they were released from the residential schools, they were given no support at all.
Yeah.
And so it kind of is just like following these characters who are trying to deal with the aftermath of that. Yeah, I mean, again, really important. This is a fictional novel, but the author's mother was in a residential school, so it is very much based off of what actually did happen in those situations and how their trauma did affect the people after they left.
And one of the characters in here, she isn't mentioned too often, but she is completely based off of someone who her mother was friends with in the residential school.
Yeah, really important, though.
Yeah.
We recommend it. It was really good.
I'm writing my paper on it. I was reading it for the class, but I wasn't like analytically reading it. I was just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, shoot, I need to like write a paper on this. I need to go back and actually... Anyways.
Okay, the last thing for the Canadian Lit class was a graphic novel called The Outside Circle by Patty LeBoucaine Benson. I admittedly had never read a graphic novel before.
What?
Yeah, can you believe that?
I had no idea.
I've read parts of Mouse, but I've never read the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, as you can see. It's kind of about, again, I mean, just about Indigenous peoples in Canada and the racialization against them. And it's about a young man who kind of gets pushed into this gang and then he has to go to jail, and kind of just his experience of healing, just about kind of generational trauma
And he joins, what's the program called? Something Warrior. Kind of an AA experience, but also it's completely like Indigenous based, and they talk about, you know, I don't know, I can't speak to it because it's all accurate and it's all something that actually happens.
It's very accurate. We actually had a class where the professor came and
the author.
We actually had a class where the author came and like did a Zoom call with the class. So we got to ask her questions about it, and she worked actually with this program in real life. And so this book is really based off of people that she knew and things that she experienced while she was working on that program.
And the nice thing about this book was we end the story with hope.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones,
this is the one book.
This is the only one, which is why I'm glad she ended the course with it. The other ones, not really, but this one, you definitely come out of it feeling like there's hope.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of graphic novels, I recommend this.
I'm trying to think of that one other book we read that I don't have a copy of. That's okay, I didn't actually read it. So I took a creative writing course this semester, Writing for Children is what it was called. I assumed that we were going to be reading and writing like picture books, which we did, but writing for children includes YA. So by the end, it didn't really feel like I was writing for children anymore, but that's okay. It was still really, really interesting to explore those genres.
I kind of wish I took it. When I look at job listings a lot, it's like they're looking for people for like the children's division of like a publishing company, and I'm like, you could put that on your resume.
Yeah. So the first book we read for this class, we had 4 novels that we had to read outside of all the writing assignments, and this also doesn't include all the picture books that we read online. But we read Ghost by Jason Reynolds, I believe his name is. Ghost by Jason Reynolds. That book was so good. I read it in one evening because, to be completely honest, I forgot about it. And I had class the next morning, but I just settled down on my couch and I read it all in one sitting. It's a middle grade novel about a kid who lives in a poor neighborhood. He's one of those kids who he walks around on the street after school because he just doesn't want to go home, and he ends up coming across this track team that's meeting on the track. He believes that he's a really fast runner and he could be faster than all of these kids and beat them. So he just lines up next to them one practice and he runs against their fastest athlete, and he ends up, I can't remember if he beats him or if he's just really close to beating him. But the coach goes up to him and he's like, "Oh my God, you need to join this team. Like, we want you on here." And he goes, "No, I want nothing to do with that." So it's one of these books where the kid, he ends up going from this troubled character to someone who just like has this goal in life, has these wonderful people surrounding him. It can be arguably cliche, but this book didn't feel like that. It was really good. I'd recommend it. Next, we read The Barren Grounds, David A. Robertson. Where is this one set? In Winnipeg again, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Another Canadian writer. Can you tell where we live?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh my God, look at the hawk.
Wow, he's really pretty. He's gonna poop on us.
So this is a fantasy. The kids are Indigenous, but they are living in a foster home. Wow. They are in a foster home and they both are very disconnected from the family, even though they're trying really hard to make them feel welcome. And the 2 kids, they don't know each other very well. It's just basically a story about them feeling comfortable in this new house and also with each other, but they end up going through a painting in a wall.
Oh.
And they end up in this place that is very fantastical.
It sounds Narnia-esque.
It's very Narnia-esque. It's just like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but it's Indigenous. So it's pretty cool, and they go and they help these. I don't know if you can see on the cover, but there is a fisher and a squirrel, and they're like walking, talking beings. It was good. It wasn't my favorite because I'm not a fantasy person. It's just not my favorite genre to read. Like, it wasn't a bad book, just not for me. Oh, I remember the other title now.
Yay.
We also read Speaking Our Truth by Monique Gray Smith. And I remember her name because she visited our class as well, which was cool. That's about the murdered and missing Indigenous women in Canada.
Wow. This was a heavy semester.
It was a heavy semester. Okay, last for this class, another graphic novel, which was crazy. I had 2 graphic novels in one term. I feel like that's rare. It's called Skim by Mariko Tamaki, and this is the first graphic novel I've ever read, and I was like, wow, this is really good. It's about this girl, and she and her friend, they're trying to join the witch community and like practice like witch magic and witchcraft and whatever. It's not really what it's about. She ends up forming this relationship with her drama teacher. We have the whole idea where this kid at her school commits suicide, and then the whole...
Gosh.
Yeah, trigger warnings. The whole, like, school is mourning and, like, reacting to that, and then we have that other relationship, and we have the witch stuff, and there's so much going on, but I read it all in one sitting again. It was really short, and it was really good. So that's all I'll say.
Okay, so another English class that I took was a fourth year English class, and it was an American Lit class called Escaping America, and it was about kind of the two main themes of, like, American exceptionalism and then escapism, so how people believe America to be kind of this amazing country, and then all the literature is actually just about trying to escape America and trying to escape these societies.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was cool because it was an American prof, so he really knew what he was talking about. So we had a couple books to read for this class, but we also read a lot of kind of short stories and articles and other smaller stuff too. But the first thing we had to read was Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson. I actually really liked this. It's kind of about how people try to escape by going to small towns, but then small towns are never kind of what you make them out to be. Like, they're always kind of have a haunted feeling to them. This is actually just a really great novel on its own. I really enjoyed this, and I actually joined the class late because I was in an anthropology class and I really did not like it. And so I switched into this class late. So I had like a couple things to read really quickly. So I never actually got to join in on the conversation for this novel, which I was pretty disappointed about. But overall, I did really like this one. We had a bunch of like shorter stuff in between these two. But then we read The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. This is basically just kind of a small kind of chapbook-esque publication of her poem with a foreword by Oprah. And it's just the poem that she read at Biden's inauguration. So we kind of talked about how this like more modern idea of kind of the city upon the hill has been used within like presidential campaigns and stuff like that. So this was really good. And then we read the first 6 chapters and the last 6 chapters of 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northup. And the reason we did this is because this is quite a long narrative. It is the true account of Solomon Northup being essentially stolen as a free man and put into slavery. So really, really important.
Wait, this is the author wrote his story?
Yeah, this is a true story.
I knew it was a true story, but I didn't know he wrote it. Like,
it's kind of hard to read. Not hard to read, but it's like 1800s writing.
Right.
So we read this, and then we had to watch the movie for the class as well, and we basically just talked about the differences and what it means for a white production company to have made this black true story into a movie, and kind of the difficulties of like the white savior idea. And not only that, but like Canada as being this amazing place where you could escape to, and everything was different there, when it's not always the case, as you saw from our other class. But the man who helps Solomon Northup escape from slavery is a white Canadian man. So we just talked about the difficulties of that kind of narrative and what it means for a white production company to have made a movie with the aim of white viewers.
cool.
The next thing we read was Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. Again, another true narrative of what it was like to be an enslaved person in the 1800s, and about Douglass's escape, which he doesn't actually detail because, I mean, then they would not let people escape in that way.
Good for him.
So he just talks about what he went through, being moved around a lot, and how he kind of tried to combat getting an education as an enslaved person, which was really, really pushed against by all the white people. Okay, the last book we read was a novel called The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This was really good. So this is a kind of magic realism take on the Underground Railroad and the escape from slavery into kind of being a free person, and what that means within the context of becoming free into societies that are heavily run by racism, and kind of the complications of like, yes, you're free, but are you really free? So yeah, I really enjoyed this. As you can tell, I wrote my term paper on it. But yeah, this class, I really did learn a lot. Like, we read a lot of important texts, and it was also just the most fun class I had this semester, which was really great.
It's because I wasn't in it. The fat stack.
I'm starting to feel itchy.
Oh no, we're almost done.
No, I'm just scared there's like bugs on me.
No, it's your allergies.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's ticks everywhere.
No.
We were in the second half of the Shakespeare in second semester, so we had to read his later works, which again was another 6 plays. This semester was a lot better than the last one. I enjoyed the first semester's readings, but this was way better in my opinion.
These were much more interesting plays.
Yes.
Lots more to talk about.
So first we read Julius Caesar. Oh my god, relax. First we read Julius Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed this.
I don't remember it.
Conspiracy and politics.
And storms.
Et tu, Brute?
I remember that.
Not much more to say about this. I think everyone knows the story.
Yeah.
Then we read Antony and Cleopatra.
Beware!
At the time, didn't love this. It is really long and is just them going to war, and then someone loses and then they go back to war, and then someone else loses and then they go back to war, and then someone loses. It's just like, oh my god.
And miscommunication throughout all of that. So it's like, I love you, I hate
The
you, I love you.
miscommunication trope.
Every Shakespeare play ever.
Yeah. So then I wrote my term paper on this.
So did I.
And it kind of made me like it more just because I forgot how funny Cleopatra is. She's such a boss.
She's hilarious.
She's a girl boss, that's for sure.
Why didn't Shakespeare write more female characters? He was good at
Because
it.
he's a loser.
Yeah.
Don't read it.
Like, read a synopsis.
Yeah, honestly.
Or just skip to Cleopatra.
King Lear. I have no thoughts on this because I don't remember what happens.
I read it in the 12th grade of my own volition because I was writing an essay.
Nerd.
And I still couldn't tell you, and I've read it twice. I still couldn't tell you
I love how
exactly
we were
what
like-
happens.
This semester was better.
I have to say, while I was reading this, I enjoyed it a lot.
This-
I thought
no,
it was
yeah.
really good. It's just that I don't remember what happens anymore.
I get this one confused with Oedipus a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Just wait till you read it.
Okay, this was the shining star of the semester for me.
Yeah.
Othello. You can tell I also wrote my term paper on this. So did you. We wrote on the same stuff. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Jealousy.
Wait. Play it.
Start following me. Shakespeare was inspired by Olivia Rodrigo for
Yeah.
this one. So this is just about this guy who is mad for no reason. And he decides to convince this guy that his wife is cheating on him.
Well, he's not mad for no reason. He thinks he has a reason.
There's no valid reason to convince someone that their wife is cheating on them when she's not. And that leads to her dying and everyone else dying, as classic
spoiler alert.
tragedies go. Hey, I didn't say who died.
Everyone dies.
Everyone. That's who.
Yeah, I also read this in the 12th grade, and then
Oh my
again
God.
this semester, and yeah, I liked it even better the second time. Good stuff.
Second to last, we got into the comedies. We read The Tempest.
Was this even a comedy?
I don't know.
Because it
man.
read like a tragedy, and then suddenly there was no tragedy at the end.
I did not enjoy this. And I think like halfway through the first half, you were like, oh, I'm liking it. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? And then you didn't really like it at the end.
Yeah, I think I got to about the third act, and I was like, this play is so good. I'm really loving this. I understand what's happening. I'm digging the relationships, and then it didn't really go anywhere, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was a bit of a letdown. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what happens when you read 4 tragedies and then switch to comedies. Everyone just walks off into the sunset at the end, and it's like, well, really?
Dessa comes into class, and she goes,
I was disappointed.
and I was like,
Why?
she's like,
No one died.
I thought
like,
we were reading all tragedies.
it's a
this
comedy.
It's a comedy, Dessa. No one dies because it's not a tragedy.
Well,
Anyways.
my bad.
It was so funny. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Like, I enjoyed.
Wasn't the best thing in the world
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, last. This was a shock. This is a tragic comedy, Cymbeline. Before we got to this one, the prof was like pooping all over it.
Yeah, he's
And-
like, just wait till we get to
Yeah.
Cymbeline. We're like, oh, great.
I really liked this.
This was
Turns out half tragedy, half comedy is the perfect mix for Shakespeare. Why he didn't write more of these, I don't know.
it reminds me of Romeo and Juliet. It reminds me of the Comedy of Errors a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
It
I
re-
got like Henry VI Part 3 vibes.
Yeah.
In
It
terms
just
of
kind
like
of
royalty.
had a little bit of everything.
He took the best parts of all his other plays and put them together into
Yeah,
one.
I heard someone in our class say that. He
Yeah.
was like, Shakespeare figured it out and just put it all into one
Yeah,
play.
this worked for
This
me.
was really good.
I don't know what our prof was going on about, but this was tied for my favorite, I think, of the semester.
Yeah. And it's a play that nobody knows.
Yeah.
So
I'd never heard of it.
Read it. Let's get this play on like
Okay, if you could see
Shakespeare's favorites.
one of the 12 plays we read this year,
Yeah.
if you could pick one to see live as a performance, which one would you pick?
What were they again? I was gonna say Titus, but honestly Cymbeline. I think I'd want
Yeah?
to see Cymbeline.
I'm tied between Titus and Cymbeline.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Or I feel like Richard III could be kind of cool too, as like seeing it as an actual play.
Or Henry with Queen. What's her
Margaret.
face?
Okay, that is everything a creative writing major and English lit major has to read in third year of university. Obviously, it is such a spectrum, and the variety of classes is insane. So you can kind of really pick things to your liking, and that's what we did.
That was a lot of books.
I know.
That just puts into perspective how much we had to
work
read.
you have.
Because it's read, but it's also write all these essays and then write all of these stories in our writing classes.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
blah, blah, blah. All
It's
the
not
rest.
just read, it's close read, write a banging term paper on it, and then in some of them do an exam. So, oh, it's a beautiful day.
I know. We should just sit here and talk more. I'm just kidding.
Anyways, we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up, so
Yeah.
stick around. Thanks for joining us again, guys. We really appreciate everyone who hit subscribe.
Yeah. We love you.
Yeah.
All 95 of you.
This has been fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so bye.